You are listening to Waffle, the bite-sized podcast with Paul Jenkins. First broadcast on Rossendale Radio on the 7th of March 2021. This week, Paul talks to first-time author Abigail Collins about her brand new comedic take on the dating world, Everybody's Doing It. She also talks about her other life as a cabaret and circus artist.
104.7 Rossendale Radio.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Waffle segment. As ever, on a Sunday evening, we talk to authors, we talk to publishers, we talk to poets. But this week, we are talking to an amazing novelist. I'm holding in my hand, not that you can see this because it's radio, but I'm holding in my hand a copy of Everybody's Doing It by Abigail Collins. And Abby is joining me on the line now. Good afternoon. How are you doing?
I'm all right, Paul, and hello, everybody, and thanks for having me. It's lovely to be here.
I was going to say, it's a nice afternoon. It's always nice. I get the thumbs up from the studio next door to say, Zoom is working fine. We can hear you on the radio.
It's always sunny in Lancashire, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I was going to say, we've got cloud cover this afternoon, and to be honest, we've had it all right at the moment. Please don't jinx our weather. But you are joining us this afternoon, not from this neck of the woods at all. You're joining us from the tropical climates down there in that there south, aren't you?
Yeah, from tropical Streatham.
I think that is the first time that Streatham's ever been described as tropical, but it's
probably the last.
We realised we both hail from the same neck of the woods because you're originally from Dagenham, are you not?
I am.
Yeah, we have to sort of do the geography lesson every now and again for people up here in Rossendale because let them know what Essex is really like because all they ever get usually is the Towie version of things. But you're here to talk about your book this afternoon. Now it looks like an absolutely fantastic read. I received a copy yesterday. But do you want to tell us about Everybody's Doing It first of all? What drove you to write it and where the ideas came from?
Right, so I should make the disclaimer first of all that this is fiction. But obviously, I think, maybe not so much of it's historical fiction, but, a lot of writers, you tend to draw on what you know, don't you, on what you can write. So I was very early to the party on internet dating.
Right.
I've probably done it on and off for at least the last decade. And when I first started doing it, everybody was, oh, poor you. Oh, you can't meet someone IRL, in real life before we even used to say IRL. And I didn't say anything, but I thought, oh, you'll all be doing it. You'll all be doing it. I'll give you 5 years, and sure enough, a decade on, and everybody's doing it, which is where the title of the book came from.
Excellent, and it is true. I mean, I worked with a few people, and there was suddenly that realisation in the staff room one day that the majority of couples that were sitting in the room had met on the internet, and it suddenly became a thing of everybody, like you say, everybody's doing it. And the book is very much about relationships. It's even from the cover, it's a fantastic cover as well. It's essentially a lot of people snogging. That is that is the cover of the book, and is that the kind of where do we, because we follow the main character, and it's Catherine is your main character, and we follow her through, I'm assuming, some pitfalls of some fairly troubled relationships along the way. Is that correct? Am I right in thinking that?
Well, there's a lot of horrific dates, which are all fictional. I should say it is all fiction, but when I first started internet dating, I used to put funny posts up of, obviously nobody's identity, and it was never very personal, but just, you just talk on Facebook with your friends about things that had happened, and everybody said, oh, please write a book. So but the dates are fictional, but I think anybody who's online dated will recognise the series of catastrophic dates that Kat goes on, and if you've not had the pleasure / misery of internet dating, I think that you will probably enjoy it. Might be a bit of schadenfreude, a little bit of enjoyment of someone else squirming and suffering, but I think there's something in there for everybody, because either the landscape of online dating, or it's something you've never done but that maybe you're curious about. So if you are in a happy relationship, well done you. If you are in a relationship and you've never done it, rather than split up or get divorced because you were just curious about online dating and not wanting to meet someone else, just read my book.
That seems it. So it's almost like a counselling session. This is quite nice. It's multi-layered.
Well, actually, I mean, I wonder if you've never. I hope that it wouldn't put anybody off of internet dating, but if you've never done it before, it is, it's kind of like it's a fictional dating site, but it is pretty much the kind of standard format of how those things work. So.
And interesting, you were saying there it's sort of slightly biographical. Did you find that obviously the changing of the names of characters and the situations? Have you had somebody come back to you and say, "Is that me in the book? Is that?"
No, not yet, because the book wasn't supposed to be released until the 28th of March.
Oh, I see, right.
But it's already been on sale on Amazon and other outlets like Foyles and Smiths. And Waterstones. It's on pre-order now, but some people have bought it, and everybody's on Facebook with their copy of my book, which is really nice to see. So no, I've not had that yet, but like I said, it is all fictional. Characters don't bear any resemblance to anybody living or deceased. But actually, when I was writing it, I dated a couple of guys, and if I went on a date and I'd say to someone, "Oh, don't worry, you're not going to be in the book," and actually, people were quite upset that they weren't going to be in the book.
Maybe that's it. Maybe they were trying to do ever more extravagant things on the date in order to maybe make it and qualify for the top 10 or something. I don't know.
Well, there's quite a lot of horror that she goes through, so I think you'd have to be quite horrific to make the book. They're not all horror dates; they're just kind of quirky, funny.
Yeah, but I was going to say, you say funny. I mean, the humour. We'll have a chat about the sort of the humorous side of things, and about some of your other previous work, and about sort of what's led to the book. I think in the next section of the interview. But we always allow our guests to choose the playlist for the afternoon. Now you kicked us off with Wuthering Heights with a bit of Kate Bush, which is always going to be A grade standard. And then you've gone. Now you've chosen Club Tropicana Wham. You were not to know that this afternoon here on just before the weekend down, myself and Melanie Kemp had our head-to-head this week for choosing the best male solo artist of all time, and the people of Rossendale plumped for George Michael. Now come
on, George.
He did it. He's absolutely aced it. He aced it over Elton John and Michael Jackson and everybody else, quite frankly. But you've gone for Club Tropicana. Why particularly this?
Okay, so, George Michael, what a wonderful man he was. What an incredible artist and, humanitarian, just a beautiful, beautiful spirit. And, oh, my goodness, I think like a lot of your listeners probably, I'm getting quite choked up talking about it. When he died, I was all on my own in Glasgow because I was working up there for Christmas. Yeah. And it was such a sad Christmas. I'd wrapped up presents for myself. Oh. 3 weeks before, and so when I opened them I was like, oh, so actually, and then I was trying to have a nice Christmas day on my own. I was working and I was going to get in on a plane.
We just lost you a little second here, Abby. Oh, I tell you what, we've just lost the connection exactly the wrong time there, but George Michael is very much on the way. Here's Club Tropicana.
104.7 Rossendale Radio.
Welcome back to the Waffle Hour, and in amongst, while you've been listening to Club Tropicana, we've been replugging things, we've been rejigging things, recalling. Abby, are you still with us?
I am still with us. We've moved off the Zoom, and we're now onto we're onto audio only.
Goodness knows what. I think what's happening is we're bouncing off 3 satellites via Kazakhstan or something, but we're still in contact, and that's the important thing.
All right, so let me put my pyjamas back on. So win-win in a way.
I've been doing Zoom calls in pyjamas for a while now, and you know what? I was pretending that they were proper clothes for a while, and now I just tell people I don't care anymore. It's lovely for you to join us again this afternoon. We're talking about your book, Everybody's Doing It, and one of the things that we were mentioning was particularly about the humorous side of the book, and if people pick this up, that I wouldn't be expecting anybody a book where you're going to sit there and it's not going to be what we call a hard read, where you're going to have to sit there and really get to grips with some really these are very big things, but quite frankly the way it's put together is stunning. Some of the quotes from the back of the book, absolutely brilliant, from Alan Davis. Time Out says terrific skills, a terrific skills based character comic, and this is Cabaret, multi-talented, sharp as a whip, Cabaret's triple threats. There you go, that's a nice thing to say about you. Clearly the work that you've done previously to this is very sort of comedy based. How did you manage to bring that through the book?
Well, I've always been a bit of a clown. I actually went to the Royal Ballet when I was a child, but it wasn't for me. It was far too serious. And
I don't remember clowning being high up. I've got a friend who's at the Royal Ballet at the moment. I don't remember clowning being on the agenda.
No, we used to kick each other in the bum at the bar, so that was never going to work out. And then I got quite into my academia. I did a bachelor's and a master's, but again, it was never quite. I was always kind of headed for the stage. So, ever since I've performed professionally, since my early 20s, now that is a long time. We're well into 2 decades of performing. I've always gravitated towards the funny and the characters and accents. I love an accent. So, so it's writing funny stuff for me. Well, hopefully it's funny. I mean, you guys will all be the judge of it, but it just feels like a natural progression for me. And also, whenever I've had difficulties in my life, I've always tried to see the funny side of it.
It does come across. It does come across really well. I mean, even from, as I say, I received the book yesterday, so I'll have to be honest with the listeners. I have not read from cover to cover as yet, but even just from the first couple of paragraphs, you get the idea that you're making comparisons and witticisms that are not, these are not going to be, I don't want to say not too deep, because that kind of implies that there's no skill in the writing, because actually comedy writing relies on the fact that you've got an understanding with your audience and something they can easily grip hold of so that you can keep the pace going. But you do that really, really well. I think it's kind of the tone of it immediately makes you feel like you already know the narrator and the way that the characters are going. I mean, from just when you talk about your performance work, where does that kind of, how would you describe yourself when you're on stage as opposed to Abigail the writer?
Well, I self-describe as the body of an athlete and the mouth of Joan Rivers. I think I do, but saying that I do family stuff as well. I mean, I've actually done quite a lot of stuff in Lancashire and other places. I was the Fool of Muncaster Castle.
Very nice.
For a year. Yes, it was a very nice title to hold. So I've done a lot of family stuff and a lot of kids stuff. So obviously the audiences are very specific. And basically I just really like making people laugh. But whatever I do, whether it's family or kids or adult stuff, I've been known as a bit of an envelope pusher in my career, and I don't know how the pandemic will change this, but up and before COVID, I used to use a lot of audience volunteers, and I did a lot of climbing over people. So I think that might be that might be not such a big part of my work from now on, because it's a consideration.
It is such a tricky thing, isn't it? Because I know performers are absolutely gagging to get back out there, and we all want to be back in front of audiences again. But I think there's going to be that kind of awkwardness, like kind of like when you first meet people at a party again for the first time. It's like, what's the kind of agreed behaviour here? We've got to find new ways of having agreed behaviour, haven't we? And like you say, it might be that the physical is different, but maybe that kind of is going to lead us back to slightly more verbal banter from a distance or something like that. I mean, do you enjoy that side of things? That kind of, like you say, that the mouth of Joan Rivers, she's a particularly, or was a particularly sharp wit. Is that something that you try and drive as much as possible?
Yeah, I mean, I really like the combination of, because I create all my characters, I write the material, I make my own costume, so it's a whole process for me. And I'm a physical performer. I hula hoop, I do handstands, I do a lot of like stupid stuff basically. But I also, I really like to write characters, and occasionally I'll do the odd political joke. And I think I just really like to do a full rounded performance, and hopefully there's something for everybody in there. And I've not had that many complaints yet. And I've worked the length and breadth of the country and all over Europe, and actually, I've been to Colombia, Brazil, Japan. I've performed in Portuguese and Spanish and French. and a few words of Japanese. So yeah, I mean, and I think it's really interesting because some things are culturally specific. And whenever I go somewhere, because I've performed at Ramsbottom Civic Centre.
Where I had my jab just 2 weeks ago.
Excellent. What's the cultural centre of the universe? Surely.
I have indeed. I've launched a book there before. It's a beautiful place, is Rami. It's lovely.
Well, I loved it, but so whenever I go somewhere, I always make sure that I get the I get the local references in, so I find out what have you people got against Hebden Bridge, because there's tribalism everywhere you go, isn't there? And I mean, it's not the kind of it's not negative tribalism, but everybody, it's like the whole Lancashire Yorkshire rivalry. And I just want to say I'm drinking tea right now, and it's not Yorkshire tea.
That's very good. Thank you very much indeed. And you mentioned Hebden Bridge. That's across the border. You need a passport for that. It's
Yorkshire, isn't it?
Yeah, Hebden Bridge is Yorkshire, but Rami's very, very much in Lancashire. You're in the right spot there. That's all good. We like Rami. It's in the valley.
It's very confusing, that little border bit, because it's some of the Calder Valley in Lancashire and some in Yorkshire.
We're literally the edge of Rossendale, sort of backs onto Todmorden, so that's where the break is. So and then likewise, Ramsbottom sits a little bit in Greater Manchester and a little bit in Lancashire. There's believe me, I could go back to the Ramsbottom the changeover in the mid-70s about when they moved into Greater Manchester, but we'll be going down a very dark political alley.
Yeah, and then it will turn into a Jackie Weaver situation.
Don't. I believe me, I definitely don't have the authority. Just coming back to some of your characters, and you mentioned characters earlier on. I mean, again, this is only from the blurb, but you got hapless actress Kat, gorgeous best pal Joe, Bill and Ben, a perennial alcoholic bachelor, Gropey Dave. I mean, some of these characters. You can tell that this is your performance work is very much sort of translated onto the page now, and it's like, what would it be like if this guy and this person and these two people here, what if they were all in this situation? And it seems like you've had a lot of fun sculpting this set of characters together.
Well, what I wanted to do was, because I work in cabaret mainly, and it's a very diverse, literally all the world is there, and so it was really important to me to make the friendship circle as diverse as possible, and to, I guess, to really reflect the way things are, because, I'm a kid of the 70s, 1971. I just want to say I'm 50 in 2 weeks.
Happy birthday in advance.
Thank you. And I don't know about you, but I've seen so many things change, and obviously some things haven't changed for the better when I think of climate change, but when I think of the way socially things have changed, and people are so much more accepting now, and so it was really important to me to create a diverse friendship circle, because that is my friendship circle. Yeah. And also, I mean, and also I think, the politically things have changed with things like Black Lives Matter and, so many movements now. And so I'm like, we live, one of the best things about the UK is, despite all of our differences, especially over the dreaded B word, let's not go there. But I think that, British people largely are compassionate, they're caring, and they're fair, and ultimately accepting, even if it's something that they're not keen on, that people are still generally, even if they don't want to welcome it with open arms, they won't, people aren't, necessarily so dismissive or violent or bigoted, and that, I think we're generally a caring liberal society. That's at least what I like to think.
Well, I was going to say, this is always a very welcome thing, and certainly on this show. I'm gonna move things on, only because I'm looking at the time, and I'm gonna have to make sure that we get all of your tracks in, because you've got two more crackers to come, and one of them is Johnny Rotten in LA. Tell us a little bit about this, because this is something new to the station this afternoon.
Okay, so this is someone who was and still is very, very special to me, Jim Gipson. He is an independent artist, but he also, up in York, he had a couple of bands. Sorry, I'm talking Yorkshire, but he had a couple of bands Black Knight Crash and The Runaway Sun. So if anybody up there has been to independent gigs and went to anywhere in York, you might have come across these bands sort of like 10, 15 years ago. Anyway, he's got a solo album out on, you can find him on Spotify and you can find him on iTunes, and he's got such just a beautiful voice and a beautiful spirit. And last year I had my birthday in lockdown and even though it was lockdown, I had a very happy time of jigging around on a Facebook party to this and blowing out candles and drinking champagne, and lots of people jumped on and sent me lovely messages, so it's a happy memory.
It's a good memory indeed. This is Johnny Rotten in LA.
At home, in the office, in the car, wherever you are, you can listen to 104.7 Rossendale Radio.
Welcome back to Rossendale Radio. It's Paul Jenkins here with the final part of the Waffle Hour this afternoon, and we're talking to Abigail Collins about her book Everybody's Doing It. And just while we were sort of off air listening to Jim Gipson a little while ago, we were talking, and you've been mentioning you've been doing quite a lot of teaching and online work to do with literacy during the lockdown.
I've been teaching a couple of kids online, and that's been really good. One is 5 and one's just turned 7, and it's been great to do that. And I also taught a hula hoop workshop in my kitchen. And there's a beam in the kitchen that still bears the scars of being smacked by a hula hoop.
Oh, my goodness.
So I've done that. I also did a show for someone's birthday party in my kitchen. I did a performance for Fab NHS. This is the NHS Awards, the annual awards. So I filmed something for that in my kitchen. And I did actually get to do a few live shows with a circus in between lockdown, and I'll be joining them again in the spring, fingers crossed. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, that's excellent. And this is the thing, is some things I've dabbled in doing some children's circus work. I'm by no means a circus performer, but there is something lovely about and really freeing about circus work. I mean, I'm not a great hula hooper. I can juggle a bit, but there's little bits and pieces about seeing kids working with juggling scarves or trying to balance things or doing peacock feathers or things like that. There's something lovely about it, and I think you say you've been doing these things in your kitchen.
I have been. Well, I did the hula hoop workshop in my kitchen, and I've done some performances. When I teach, mostly that's sat at the table. And although I was dancing at 9:30 this morning with my student,
of course.
But mostly that's sat down. But yeah, I've been up on my feet in the kitchen. And actually, I mean, obviously I'm a live performer, and that's as a performer that I come together. But I have done a little bit of TV. There's a TV series called Guinevere Jones.
Right.
If anybody's ever watched that, I'm sure you can find it online somewhere. And I was a tree.
A tree.
Because who doesn't dream of being a tree when they're at drama school?
No.
Everybody's
See, you always say this, and anybody who's not a performer, right? Everybody goes, "Oh, you were a tree," and then laughs. But for me, my immediate question is, "But what type of tree? Are you a wise old oak? Are you a weeping willow? Are you what kind of tree?" See, there's characters in everything.
I was a magic tree.
Of
I was
course.
a magic tree called Fern, and I have to say that the makeup artist was amazing, and he was the same makeup artist who'd worked on Lord of the Rings.
Wow.
So it was pretty good, apart from the fact that they put these contact lenses in my eyes and I couldn't see a thing. and I've got claustrophobia as well, and I didn't realise that not being able to see would bring on my claustrophobia. And I had a panic attack in the tree costume, but I couldn't get out of it as well, and because they put me in these tree fingers, so I couldn't go to the toilet, and I couldn't get the contact lenses out of my eye, and it was raining and it was freezing cold, and it was horrendous. So there you go.
But I bet you stayed in character all the way through, and all the layers of your character. You'd have been professional. I'm almost certain of it.
Yeah, I was professional, but I was also in floods of tears, so there you go.
Well, there you go. Apologies. I hope that you've kind of alleviated the burden a little bit this afternoon by sharing the story. It's been so lovely to talk to you. I really wish we could go on. These shows, these interviews never last as long as I'd want them to. But do you want to just, while we're here, remind the people at home where we can get hold of your book and when the publishing dates are and things like that?
So the book has already been for sale on Amazon, but apparently it's selling out. Well, hey,
good work.
So it will come back, be available again on Amazon. It's available to pre-order on Foyles, on Waterstones, on WH Smith, and actually I think if you're desperate to get a copy now, if you go to bestbooksandfilms.co.uk, waffle.com. You can get a copy from there right away.
That's wonderful. We'll put the links to that in the show notes for the podcast when that goes out. And of course,
also, I'm having a book launch on my 50th birthday on the 18th.
Oh, so it's on the 18th of this month. Brilliant. Well, that
so there's if you go to Abigail Collins on Facebook, there's my Abigail Collins page on there. You can find me on Instagram, the Abby Collins. You can find me on Twitter as the Abby Collins, and I'm putting the details up there. And it's an open invite, so please, everybody, come along. There will be cheese and wine. You will be bringing it yourselves, but there will be cheese and wine.
Yeah, but you're guaranteed to get the cheese and wine you like. Then that's all right.
Yeah, and I'll be reading some excerpts from the book, and then partying on. I've even organised some DJs. So
very nice indeed. Well, there you go.
Everyone's invited.
It seems like a red carpet event for the 18th of this month. We will certainly be making sure that we are there. And just as we are finishing our section this evening, you've chosen Shirley Bassey to finish. Now, this was not the version of I Am What I Am that we had in the system. We had a bit of a Gloria Gaynor thing going on. I was like, no, she's asked for Shirley Bassey, so we're going to give her Shirley. Why Shirley?
Because I used to do impressions when I was a kid, and Shirley Bassey was one of the first impressions that I did. And I used to sing Goldfinger, and I'd contort my face, and my parents thought it was hilarious. And so Shirley Bassey has been, and I actually met her backstage in Melbourne, and I was so starstruck that I couldn't speak, because she's such a superstar, every inch the diva, but fabulous and wonderful. And this song in particular, I Am What I Am, I think it means a lot to so many people, and ultimately I Am What I Am is for everybody to remember. I sing this at the end of shows, and I really love to sing it because it just reminds me, for everybody, that to stand up and say I am what I am.
It's just such a positive message. And you'll notice I refrained, when you did your Shirley Bassey impression, I refrained from doing my Tom Jones to balance it out. But,
Oh, no, you should do Tom Jones.
Okay, well...
I've got a character called Tim Jones, who's the younger brother of Sir Tom. That's playing drag.
Well, right, in which case, what we're going to do is we'll take it up to the thing. This is I Am What I Am. Abigail Collins, thank you very much this afternoon for being a wonderful guest on the show. And we'll speak to you again very soon.
Thank you for having me. It's been lovely. It's been lush.
It's Shirley.
104.7 Rossendale Radio.
So, as mentioned earlier, this week is International Women's Day, and I've written a piece for it. The station have been doing some amazing stuff during the course of the week to get ready for International Women's Day, and I've got some brilliant content all planned. But here is my contribution. I've tried to write it very much in a male voice, and in a male-dominated industry, that of the sports coach. But this is my team talk. OK, everyone, gather round, listen up. It's a big game today. Huge. The crowd outside, the reporters, the commentators, the people at home watching through their television sets. The whole world. All eyes are on you. And some of them, I'm afraid to admit, want to see us fail. But we're not going to. When you're out there, remember, this one's for every day someone commented on your appearance without asking. For every time you were interrupted more than your colleague in a meeting. For every night you stayed home because otherwise, who would look after the kids? For every journey you took on a packed train where they were just a little too close for comfort. For every paycheck which didn't seem to go as far as you wanted. For every just having a laugh, love, get a sense of humour, you gritted your teeth through. For every time you got an unwarranted question about your kids, your lack of kids, opinion on kids, desire to have kids, or the whole process of the human reproductive cycle. For every film, TV programme, advert or radio broadcast that told you what you should spend your days doing. For every time your idea was passed over, explained back to you, and then actioned, giving credit to someone else. For every time a team talk was done by someone other than you, and who was only given permission by society to give that team talk because of the contents of their underpants. Choose to challenge. Today, we stand with you. But not all of us will be on the field today. Not all members of our team have the equipment needed to get a win this time round. And listen, here's the honest truth. We're not going to win any trophies today. It's just one game, and the opposition is pretty fierce. But today we'll play our best game, show them what we're made of and raise the roof of this place. Today we will hear cheers and shouting from the sidelines at a volume that will drown out those who want to see us fail, so they make no more noise than an ant in a wind tunnel. And then we'll know that when we play the game next, together, with all of us back on the field, we'll pass the ball that little bit more, work as a team that little bit more. And then, my friends, then we will win more silverware than you can possibly imagine. And we'll do it together. Now get out there and give us your A game. So there you have it. We come to the end of another Waffle the Bite-Sized podcast. My thanks this week to Abigail Collins for talking to me about her book, Everybody's Doing It. It looks absolutely fantastic, and best of luck with the launch, Abby. It looks like you're going to have a lot of fun sharing this with the big wide world. We'll be back with another guest next week here on Waffle the Bite-Sized podcast. My name is Paul Jenkins. My thanks go out to everybody at Rossendale Radio for allowing us to broadcast on a Sunday afternoon, and of course to Melanie Kemp for all of her work editing and producing the show. Stay safe, everybody, and we'll see you next week.